Hey everybody. Hello Internet. Hello Internet. This is Kyle, aka Vulcan Wolverine. I hope everybody's staying strong. My spine and my head feels so bad. I just woke up like 2 hours ago, maybe 3 hours ago, and I'm still kind of shaky. I mean, I get targeted all the time, like you guys. Something important. It's not the most recent news. It happened like a week ago, but I've got to go over it and kind of put. Um, Actually, they say the word targeted by the NSA a lot um, in this video, but I wanted to play it. Okay, so the backstory is that Tucker Carlson, he learned from somebody who was a whistleblower that his emails were being surveilled by the NSA. Right, Tucker's emails are being intercepted and surveilled by the NSA. They got proof of it because this whistleblower gave them proof of that, right? So that's kind of the backstory. And Tucker's been asking them about this, and he's even gotten senators to talk about it. So that's the backstory. I want to go ahead and play this, and he talks about it more. And in this segment, he talks to Glenn Greenwald, who says a lot of things that are very helpful in connecting what's happening to Tucker with what's happening to us, right? What's going on. So let me play a little bit of this, and I'll stop it and talk about. Not sure about the copyrights, but it's something that we really need to look at.
A couple of days ago, we told you that the National Security Agency had read our emails and was effectively threatening us with them, leaking them.
And what the NSA said is they said that they were surveilling Tucker's emails, but he was not an intelligence target. He was not in the letter they sent to him. They said he was not an intelligence target. Now it gets my mind to working right. Am I an intelligence target? What am I classified as? Right? Getting remote neural manipulation, gang stalking, fired upon by microwave weapons, surveilling my computer, my phone, my tablet, so, surveilling my brain. Right? Um, Also gets me thinking about something else. I'll remember this definitely. Let's let him talk a little bit more, and I'll kind of. We need to ask questions, right? I can't say for sure everything that's happening to Tucker Carlson and everything that the NSA and contractors under them are maybe doing to him and how much they're surveilling of him, right? But the questions do need to be asked because this stuff is so dangerous, and we'll talk about that more. The things that they're saying are ultra dangerous for America, but they're not even, they're way down here when the truth is way up here of how much of us is being surveilled. We've got to ask that question. Those questions need to be asked of the regular public, right? We know how much they're surveilling of us, our brains, our biosystems, everything we do in our homes and in remote surveillance wherever we go, right? Not just our phone, computer, and tablet, right? So how much of us are they surveilling? See, and in these you'll see how much the public, when stuff like this happens, watch how much they think is happening, right? And it doesn't even scratch the surface of what they are surveilling about us.
It's not a statement you would make lightly. No one wants to go on TV and say, the government's spying on me. You sound like a lunatic, except when it's true. And in this case, it is true. And of course, it's not just this show. They're spying on a lot of people, and they should stop because it's illegal. Yesterday, we had a long conversation with officials at the National Security Agency.
This is so important. It's only 8 minutes.
And they should stop because it's illegal. Yesterday, we had a long conversation with officials at the...
They should stop because it's illegal. Spying on Americans is illegal. But the national security laws and the United States codes don't only say they can surveil somebody if it's for national security reasons, right? It says they can torture, experiment, or kill any American if it's for national security purposes, right? And what they've done is they've said, well, if it's for surveillance, it can be labeled experimentation, right? It can be labeled, so anything, anybody they want to surveil, anybody they want to remote neural monitor, anybody they want to do this stuff to, they can just say, it's definitely for national security purposes because it's all research. It's all experimentation. It's all data collecting. It's all seeing what will happen if we surveil this person, what we're going to get on them, right? Who are they connected to? It's all experimentation, really. So any kind of surveillance can be classified under national security. Listen to what he says in a second. Let's play a lot of it, and then I'll
National Security Agency. We got a statement out of them, and they effectively conceded, yes, they read our emails. They have some justification for it, but it's not justified. It never is, except in cases when national security is threatened, and nothing that we did would ever threaten national security, period. Liberals used to understand that. They were very worried about this program. Back in 2006, Joe Biden himself said he was worried about the NSA spying on American citizens.
I don't have to listen to your phone calls.
And what he said was really important. Let me just go back a little bit.
Himself said he was worried about the... Liberals used to understand that. They were very worried about this program. Back in 2000, nothing that we did would ever threaten national security. But it's not justified. It never is, except in cases when national security is threatened, and nothing that we did.
And unless it's in cases where national security is threatened, but what these contractors and the NSA and the CIA and the DIA are doing is they're saying it's all justified. When Tucker, his emails are surveilled, and I guess I'll just say it now, probably way more stuff is being surveilled. His computer, his phone, his brain may be being surveilled. Not sure, right? But the question has to be asked, how much of him and his family is being surveilled? And they can just justify it under national security. Tucker could be dangerous, right? Because he's putting out dangerous ideas, right? And the whole thing is to stop anything that's dangerous. And now the things that are dangerous to national security are things that could maybe save America, right? Because they want America to go down, right? It's a simplified explanation of it, but it's true. But it's exactly true.
It would ever threaten national security, period. Liberals used to understand that. They were very worried about this program. Back in 2006, Joe Biden himself said he was worried about the NSA spying on American citizens.
I don't have to listen to your phone calls to know what you're doing. If I know every single phone call you made, I'm able to determine every single person you talk to. I can get a pattern about your life that is very, very intrusive. And the real question here is, what do they do with this information that they collect that does not have anything to do with al-Qaeda? And we're going to trust the president and the vice president of the United States that they're doing the right thing. Don't count me in on that.
So now Joe Biden is in charge of the national security apparatus, and his administration has turned it on Americans who he has redefined as combatants, domestic terrorists, white supremacists. Where does this go from here? We think we know, and we're deeply concerned about it. We know the NSA...
See, I think, this is what I think. I think that we, as targeted individuals or as survivors of bioexperimentation, were categorized differently for different parts of what's attacking us, right? So at DHS fusion centers, we're categorized, put on a terrorist watch list. This person needs to be watched because they could be dangerous, right? It's not even a extrajudicial. They may do drugs or something like that. It's they may hurt somebody. They are a national security threat. They are on they could be terrorists, possible terrorist watch list, right? For the contractors, it's like, oh, this is an experimental person that we're doing this remote neural monitoring and everything. We're psyoping, right? To play along with what DHS labels us as. But we're labeled differently by the different organizations taking pieces of us, right? I forgot what he said that I needed to say that, but that's kind of how I think of it. We're labeled differently among different organizations to do whatever their job is to do to us, right? I hope that made sense.
NSA is collecting data from American citizens, spying on them. They have a heart attack if you call it spying. That's exactly what it is.
And worse, they're not just spying on American citizens. They're torturing, experimenting, surveilling the brain. And when they can surveil the brain, signals to and from the brain, we become surveillance devices because our eyes, what we see, goes to our occipital lobe, and they can just run a bidirectional stream, get that signal of what you're seeing, and you become a surveillance device. it's so, like, people are talking down here. I know I say this a lot. I don't know how to talk about this stuff anymore, guys. I'm trusting in God, right? I'm just trusting in God, and I'm gonna throw my rock still. But when the whole world is talking about it one way, and they're going up to here, and then you're talking about it for so long about what's really happening, and you're getting beat down, right? You start to, like, at the beginning. I won't go into it too much, but at the beginning, I was like, yeah, this is happening. I'm very precocious. And then I was just beaten down so much about, like, what everybody else is talking about, and how they're not making the most important things topics because they're scary. And it makes this, this is just every day for me. How do I talk about, because the real reality of what we're going through, like the torture and surveillance, is like a horror movie where it's like, you want to scream at everybody all the time, right? But instead, because it's such a prolonged torture and murder, we've got to calm down and talk about it in logical terms, right? Which we have to. But man, what a head trip. Like, what a head trip. And only God can fix that. Only God can fix that.
Let's stop using BS language. It's spying. In a House Judiciary Committee meeting today, a senior Microsoft executive said that most Americans would be stunned if they knew how often the federal government used secret orders to collect information on them.
It's worse.
While the recent news about secret investigations is shocking, most shocking is just how routine secrecy orders have become when law enforcement targets an American's email, text messages, or
in the scary fact that people just, I don't even know if they're going to get there. Like people that haven't been targeted for so long, is that it's like not just data collection, surveilling people. It's mass experimentation. So experimentation becomes the justification. And it's not just like, well, we're going to surveil the American people and collect data, and we've just kind of lost our heads when we were trying to protect everybody, and we've just surveilled too many people accidentally. It's no, there's a purpose. There's a purpose to so much access to surveillance of everyone. Oh my God, I almost spilled my mouth. Oh my God, and something else fell off. It's like an earthquake. Okay, it didn't overflow. But one of the justifications being experimentation, brain mapping, right? And we're not even close. And it's like, we have to, in our society, and the way that our information flows, the way that we talk about things, it's like people will talk about surveillance. They may talk about bioexperimentation or something, and it all gets split up, right? Because it's too complicated. When those lines run into each other, it becomes an impossible thing to believe, right? Because anything that's more complicated than one little thing, like we're surveilling the American people because we screwed up or something, or we're tyrannical and we're trying to go after the right? That's pretty complicated, but it's going here. And then anything else, if you're like, well, they're actually doing a lot of experimentation on these people that they're just saying are terrorists or whatever, and there's a lot of angles that go into this, then, so it's like people have to change. We have to change the way we talk about things and everything like that. I guess that's a pretty obvious thing,
or other sensitive data stored in the cloud. Throughout the Obama, Trump, and Biden administrations, up to a third of all legal demands we receive from federal law enforcement include secrecy orders, up to 3,500 in just 1 year. And these are just the demands on Microsoft. Add the demands likely served on Facebook, Apple, Google, Twitter, and others, and you get a frightening sense of the mountain of secrecy orders used by federal law enforcement in recent years.
So what we need is an investigation into what exactly is going on. We have the largest bureaucracy in the history of mankind. There's never been a human organization larger than the American federal government.
Wait.
And so we need to know what the important parts of it, the parts with a lot of power, are doing in our name. We need an investigation. And today at that...
So he said there's no larger bureaucracy than the American government. See, it's going to this level. It's like, oh yeah, our government and the military-industrial complex of our single country, there's this huge bureaucracy, and they're being tyrannical. But they have puppet strings from a global oligarchy that is mandating down how things are going to be going for Agenda 2021, Agenda 2030, and on and on and on, right? So it's a world bureaucracy, and that's why it's so horrible. And it's even more horrible because if it was a global oligarchy that people knew about, at least we would know what we're dealing with, right? And we wouldn't be perceptually off when we say, oh, our American government's getting too big and it's getting too tyrannical and it's just too centralized, right? If we could know that it's a global oligarchy making huge decisions for all these different countries and what's going to happen to them and what the wars that are going to happen, it's a bigger bureaucracy. We could talk about more things, like the public, not targeted individuals, not the people who have gone further, but the people like at Tucker's level, talk about more things, right? We stay on this perceptual level that they want us in. It's beyond a frustrating thing and very hard to talk about, and it's what makes a lot of us, I think it's what makes a lot of targeted individuals like, this is so screwed up, I ain't talking about this stuff, I'll look into it, but I ain't gonna, like, nobody's even talking in a big way about like what's really happening. Glenn Greenwald gets close. Like, let's watch that part. Let's watch him go on.
Hearing at least one Republican member of Congress, Matt Gaetz of Florida, called for that.
The most watched cable news host has been stating for the last several nights that the NSA has been monitoring his communications. And amazingly, the NSA has issued a statement that is so couched, it is functionally an admission. And it's not like the NSA's never lied to us. I mean, we were told that there was no bulk collection of Americans' data. Turns out there was bulk collection of Americans' data. We cannot count on these people to police themselves. Join me in calling for an Inspector General investigation into any monitoring that the NSA or any other element of the intelligence community has engaged in relative to Tucker Carlson, because these did not.
I got really excited. I thought he was going to say, let's investigate all of this surveillance on everyone, and I was going to be like, oh my God, if they start that, if they start digging there, maybe they'd find more. I forgot what he said before that. My attacker just slowed everything down, so I can't pause it, and then they make me forget what I was going to say. This is so bad. Like, and I don't sound like a crazy person to people that are going through this, but it's not just surveillance. This is, they get in your, like, it's like human teams, automated systems, surveilling the brain, responding, but also manipulating and raping the brain too. It's gone so far, and it seems to be their solace. It seems to be their how they stay safe. It seems to be how this huge system keeps the public blinded. The more evil and petty mixed with huge, awful genocide, right, and torture. No one can believe that. No one can believe petty, like they're doing these little psyops where they're messing with your memory while you're doing a video, and they're slowing down your computer so like you can't and they're mapping your brain and torturing you in your home and stuff like that. It seems to be the protective thing. Evil is like, the more evil the evil does, and the more they make it so evil, it seems to protect them, because people are just like, no way can evil like that happen. We're working on, they're surveilling some people, and that is like oh my God, we're losing our minds. The NSA is surveilling some of Tucker's emails. That's their perception of what's happening, is that the NSA is just surveilling some of Tucker's emails. They're watching him make love to his wife. They're watching him like bathe his kids or play, go out and play baseball with us. They're watching his whole life. They're watching his family movie time. They're watching his toilet time. They may even be looking through Tucker's eyes. Who knows? Because the NSA does this stuff operationally. They get contractors to do it experimentally. And if somebody is a political threat, down from on high, globalism to the leftist government and the leftist deep state, right? If that person is deemed a political threat, that is national security now. They can just say anything's national security. They can say anything's experimentation. We're seeing how we can silence these dissidents. It's an experiment, right? They can just anything, because there's no oversight. You see, when there's no oversight, anything can be said, and they're just going to keep doing it because it was a crime in the first place. So they don't need to justify it or do anything. They just need to tell the public, when they get caught on something, oh yeah, it's just surveilling emails, and we're allowed to do this kind of stuff. But Tucker's not an intelligence target. What does that even mean? What is an intelligence target? Who's an intelligence target?
Denials, these couch denials, raise more questions than they provide answers.
They gather the information and they threaten you with it. Information is power. The more they have, the more power they have over you. And if they don't like your politics, it's a problem. So we do need an investigation. And tonight, the House Minority Leader, Kevin McCarthy.
Politics that they don't like are considered national security threats. Why do you think every patriot that supported Donald Trump is now a domestic terrorist? You don't say, oh, well, somebody supported this president and they like the Constitution and they want to keep the Second Amendment right how it is, and teach their children to shoot guns so that their children will be able to protect themselves when the rape gangs are roaming the streets in about 5 years, right? Insane. These people are not aligned with destroying America, so we need to get rid of them. These patriots, Tucker. You hear how Tucker talks very passionately about what's happening to our country, about how he wants to keep our freedoms. He doesn't know how far it's fallen. He doesn't know how many freedoms we've lost. Just the freedom to not be tortured and murdered while you're called mentally ill by people who aren't experiencing it. But then it comes out in the mainstream that remote microwave attacks are happening everywhere, and people still treat you like you're mentally ill. You have no rights, right? An American who's committed no crimes, you guys, Americans that have committed no crimes, we don't have the right to not be tortured, and go to a job and not be tortured, or have a relationship and not be tortured, to have our own brain, to be able to just have me in my brain and thinking, I have V2K remote systems twisting my brain and pushing my brains in certain directions to respond to what they're saying. So it's just a game, a little war being played in my brain to destroy it, to drive me crazy, right? The main point of that, to drive me crazy and try and make me do something, bad or whatever, which is not going to happen. Peace is going to win the day. Peace and the things that's why they're going after Tucker. That's why they're, surveilling his emails and stuff, because he's good with this. He says the true things, and they sound right because they're so true, and that's super dangerous to the system. It's the most dangerous thing, more dangerous than guns, and I guarantee you, any kind of violence that the middle class or the lower class does, it ain't a danger to them. It is victory for them. And they will use that to propel their system more and more, because it's a low resonance system. What does it need? It needs a lot of murder. It needs a lot of hatred. It needs a lot of division. It needs people, traumatized and sad. They want to bring the human population into a low resonance system, so they're confused, low resonance, so they're more easily confused. We can look as above, so below is true. I like to say microcosm, macrocosm, because that other stuff is like Masonic. It's what Masons say, and I do this because they're just trash. Masons are trash. Come at me, bro. Come at me, bro. So, oh yeah, they're really erasing my memory now. And so I completely forgot what I was talking about. They get so mad. They're Masons. These people microwave the human operators on there. At least the guy, I don't know. I think that the men and the women on there are Masons. Every time I say anything about Masons, they flip out. And there was it's so weird, so weird.
McCarthy of California has called for that, an investigation by the House Intelligence Committee. We'll see what happens. Glenn Greenwald, meanwhile, is one of the people who is responsible for what we know about what the NSA does. He broke the original story of the NSA's mass surveillance under the Obama administration. He writes now for Substack. We highly recommend it. He joins us tonight. Glenn, thanks so much for coming on. So your position on this has remained consistent for more than a decade. American citizens, unless they pose some obvious national security threat, imminent national security threat, shouldn't be targeted by their own government for spying. Why is that not the position of everyone in journalism?
That's a really good question. You know, it's interesting, when I did the reporting with Edward Snowden in 2013 and 2014, liberals loved that reporting so much that they gave us every award that they have to offer. The Pulitzer, the Polk, the film that was done about my work with Edward Snowden was given an Oscar. I went up on the Oscar stage. They couldn't lavish enough prizes and praise on us. And now here we are after the Trump years, and we know that the Democratic Party and journalism in general has aligned with the CIA, the NSA, and the FBI, and has aligned and merged with the security state. And so in response to the report that you did...
Because if you can say these people that we're going to surveil and that we're going to torture, or these people that we need to go to war with, they've done something horrible to us and we hate them, right? You could have people that thought they were unified with every other American, right? People on the left, unified with every other American, and they're like, no, none of us can be surveilled, and definitely none of us hurt or anything like that. You know, called domestic terrorists and lives stolen, right? None of that. But then the left and the right begin to hate each other. The left is told that the right, domestic terrorists that want to destroy, that they're white supremacists and everything. The hatred, right? Just like after 9/11, the hatred. And I never had this. I knew there were regular families over there, but I should have protested way more. But the Muslims, they're gonna the Afghanistan people, they're gonna overrun us. Oh, we hate them. We gotta go to that war, right? Which nobody would have ever done, right? No American would have ever pushed for just invading Afghanistan if nothing like that happened, right? This is the same exact thing. They get us inside of the country to be two different peoples, and then you can do whatever you want. Oh yeah, that other side, they need to be surveilled. They need to be killed. They need to be whatever. Domestic terrorists, get them out of here. They start to do the things, and they've been doing this for a while, things that they want Americans to hate another country or think they're dangerous so we can go to war with them. So a false flag happens, right? And then all this stuff, all this division creates, oh yeah, now we want surveillance, because it's not going to be on us, right? They think it's just going to, oh yeah, we definitely want surveillance because there's those white supremacist right-wingers, right? And they somehow think that they're going to be exempt. It's a lot like, our microwave attackers. They're like, yeah, these people, the program picked these people to be experimented on and to be tortured and zerzetsung, and we trust this system because we're in it, right? And we're going to get the benefits from being in this program, from doing this program. And no, they aren't. Nobody gets the benefits. Just the top of the pyramid. Even those people, whatever they're connected to, they're being tricked to, and they're not going to get any of it, right?
You would think other journalists, just out of self-interest, even if they dislike your ideology and you, would say, we want to know whether the NSA is abusing their powers in order to spy on journalists they dislike. And instead, they mocked it. They said that, oh, he has to be paranoid in order to think this. And they took the NSA statement that I have seen over and over, Tucker, over the last 8 years, that is designed to mislead the public. They use their carefully constructed words to say Tucker Carlson is not an intelligence target of the NSA, which may be true, But what that leaves out is that there are so many other ways that they have to spy on the communications of American citizens without making you a target, without getting a warrant. They have huge authorities that really haven't been reined in since 2013 and 2014. I'm glad to hear Kevin McCarthy, other GOP leaders calling for an investigation. But the reality is that in bipartisan Washington, Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer have been joining with the likes of Kevin McCarthy and Mitch McConnell to expand the NSA, to kill any attempts to reform it. So these are kind of empty words.
I totally agree with that. Mitch McConnell's 100% on board with what they do. I got a number of calls and texts, one from Politico, asking me, well, who are you emailing? I mean, I think clearly you would never claim your emails are being read by the government unless you could prove it. Again, you sound like a crazy person. We can prove it. It happened. But now the line is, well, you must have been emailing the wrong people. I was under the impression as a journalist.
Look, I got something to say here. I love Tucker Carlson, and I just think some people are going to be at that level. I question if I wasn't targeted like I am, would I be talking at that level, right? And then I forgot what I was going to say completely. All right, let's move on. Oh, man. Sorry about that, guy.
And an American citizen, I have the right to email anybody I want. Is that not the standard any longer?
Tucker, ponder the authoritarianism needed for them to say that. Think about the premise there. They're saying that if you talk to somebody that the NSA has decided should be spied upon, it means that that person, even though they've been charged with no crime and convicted of nothing, is up to no good. They're like a terrorist or a threat, and you yourself are also. The whole point of the reporting that we...
This is the most dangerous thing. If you look at we need to watch Snowden, the movie, on DLive. And you need to research that prism in those surveillance programs. And I say this a lot, and this is really, really bad, guys. We've got a powerful God, but we have to know that this is so sick, and they're using like systems of technology and automated systems as like a virus that's spreading, like a cancer that's spreading. And what's happened, just like in those surveillance trees with Prism and everything, it's like if they label me some kind of like, oh, I could be dangerous, so I'm being targeted in microwave, I go around my parents and I tell them, just because my parents are associating with me, they get surveilled and then targeted. You see, unless they can flip them and make them actually, work with the program and stuff like that. But I think in most of our situations as targeted individuals, you go around your family, and then it's the surveillance tree. They're talking to you, so they're associating with a dangerous person that they're torturing to and experimenting on, and saying, like, I think in their circles they say it's morbidity to keep us from doing something dangerous, but it's actually the opposite. They're torturing us and experimenting on us and killing us, and it leads to bad stuff, right? But it's that surveillance tree, and they're using that surveillance tree theory when it was just surveillance with Prism to actually remote neural monitor, remote neural manipulate, fire upon people with directed energy weapons, because it's completely unaccounted for. It's completely covered up, right? So it's just corrupt, and just whoever you're around is going to be targeted. I remember I had a roommate come in at that house that burnt down, and me and her would just be hanging out, and she'd be like, I'm getting hit in the chest by like this huge warm beam, like just hitting her right in the chest. And like she stopped talking about it, because she didn't want to feed my delusions or whatever, but it was like happening to her, like it's crazy. It's like we've got to admit that this has to be mind control, that people are not talking about mind control, that they're not talking about these frequencies. And it's worse than just individual extreme targets. They're doing massive frequencies to change the behavior and the emotions of entire populations, cities, states. How big does it go? Because the weapons grid is global, and with a lot of these satellites and using the atmosphere, they can create very, very powerful directed energy that can start fires in California, or it can be wideband spread over populations, right? or just from microwave towers, right, and satellites. A whole city could be washed with certain frequencies. And they're talking on this level, which is great. This is exciting, right? Tucker's talking about the NSA spying on him. That's a big story. A lot of people are going to be like, well, if they're spying on Tuck, well, actually, people say, oh yeah, they would be spying on Tucker Carlson, but they never spy on me because I'm just Joe Blow, right? But they have to practice. It's a simple common sense thing. Experimentation, training, research, and development with weapon systems and surveillance, and using the citizenry as weapons and surveillance, right? They have to practice on a lot of people before they start doing it to the top, right? Before they start doing it operationally to soldiers and agents and everything like that. So that's why you've been hearing for so many years since like 1970, you've been hearing a lot of people saying, I'm getting voices beamed into my head and I'm being hit with stuff, and people are following me around. Put into the DSM before they start these programs, put in as this is going to be schizophrenia, right? They prepare for these programs. Like I've talked about that before on these videos, on my videos, and the deal with it is just like everything else. It's so unbelievable that they had the DSM to people is like this scientific medical, we're going to help people, right? But they put in things in the DSM to match what they were going to then artificially do to a lot of the population. If the population ever says this in the DSM, then it's going to be schizophrenia. Now, I believe there's real schizophrenia. I know some of you guys, you disagree with me. You're confused about that. Like, you're just like, is there any real schizophrenia? Because this targeting matches so closely, right? On purpose, they try and match your targeting with a certain kind of mental illness. If not schizophrenia, then bipolar disorder or other emotional disorders, right? They want to match it, right? There's scientists, and I think mostly in the 1970s to 1980s that the intelligence agencies were getting to study how to take a healthy human being and a healthy brain and make sure that it could look crazy to other people, right? They did massive. There's scientists got awards for that stuff. I can't find it. Like I can't find it anywhere. But I remember seeing an article about it. Like it's completely true, but it's like scrubbed, and I can't find it. I need to do a video on that. If anybody can find an article on the scientific research is around 1960 to 1980 or something like that. Probably, definitely still going on today, and went on further. But articles about how they were starting to really get into that, like in the 1970s. How to take a healthy person, how to take a healthy brain, and make them look like they're one of the categories of one of the mental illnesses, right? Why would you ever research that? Like, if you want to help human society, why would you ever research that? For war, right? That's what the lower down levels are thinking. Well, we need this control, mind control, and how to really destabilize a person and zerset them, because our country needs to have these weapons and these tactics to fight against these other countries' weapons and tactics, right? But when the strings are being pulled from above, and a lot of these contractors are international, it's not country versus country anymore. It's just the lower levels think that they're being tricked, so that this massive data collection, massive mapping of brains all over the globe can take place. Like Tucker says, like, oh, his emails are being surveilled by the NSA, and ooh, he sounds crazy. Listen to what I'm saying, and what I am saying is true, is definitely true, is definitely true. Like, even if some of it is a little bit too far or whatever, like them hitting everyone on the earth with frequencies, which I totally believe it's theoretically possible, we still have to talk about these possibilities, right? I think that's how we have to approach this, guys. Guys and gals that are going through this, is we have to start saying, we can't say things definitively because it's hard to find proof on directed energy. Our body has electromagnetic functions that affect the brain and things like this, so this looks very natural. Like what happens to us is like an energy that our body already has, and it's screwing up that energy in the tissue and it's burning it all. But it has this evil is getting really lucky, like I said. But watch out, because good, it's going to be a balance where good gets really, really lucky, and good usually comes after the big evil thing. And there's been evil brewing for a long time and coming out with its dragon wings and its devil horns. And we just have to, God's going to create, okay, I'm going into a funky metaphor. God's going to create these invisible concrete steps, and we're going to have our holy sword, and then we're going to run up these concrete steps up to the head of the Satan beast, and then go, right? And there's going to be a lot of Hydra heads, so I'm going to cut off one, and you're going to cut off one. They're going to, and everybody's going to get a head. But seriously, our God is powerful. I think this is a test for a lot of Christians and just spiritual people to do as good as you can, right? And we gotta fill people's bellies and put housing over them and help them not to be. We've got to try and do those things, but then leave it to God, right? Because I know some people are just like, it's a complete spiritual war, but honestly, if you're one of those people that says it's nothing is physical, it's completely a spiritual war, do you eat every day? Do you live in a house? Do you do those things? Like, ask yourself honestly, like, there's a physical, there's a balance, there's a physical things we have to take care of to fight that spiritual war. We all know that. It's obvious. I think all y'all do too, but I just want to make sure. It's like, if you're like, this is all spiritual, there's nothing like physical that matters. Do you eat? Do you need to go to the bathroom? Do you have a roof over your head? And you know what I'm saying? You guys know what I'm saying.
We did is that the NSA spies on millions and millions of people indiscriminately. If you're a journalist, it's almost impossible not to talk to a target of the NSA. They target everybody constantly all the time. That's why they're this huge sprawling agency. But the authoritarianism that is pervading journalism says if you're talking to somebody the NSA doesn't like, you're a bad person.
And we're not going to put up with it.
That's how they do
at all. Once they have the information, then they threaten and control you, and that's what they were trying to do to us. Glenn Greenwald, I appreciate it, and your reporting, which we have new appreciation for. Thank you.
See, but that's not the thing. Like, I guess maybe with Tucker, maybe it is the Biden administration, doing that to him, and it's pretty specific. It's not like the targeting that we go through, and maybe they are trying to get information from him. I gotta get this off the screen. But for us, for me, it's not about collecting any information and using it as blackmail or anything like that. It's just experimentation and feeding me to DHS Fusion Centers, InfraGard, all of those agencies, and COINTELPRO, and crisis actors, surveillance role players. They gotta hire a lot of people to be spies and cyber-placed agents and COINTELPRO and agent provocateurs. They need money, right? They need to spend that money to get a bunch of them. So a lot of it on the Department of Homeland Security, InfraGard, Sheriff's Department, and then all of those agencies that are fakers and liars. It's just about putting as much money and hiring as many people so the next quarter they get more money to do more, right? They need meat, right? Not me, not me-y. They need meat because DHS Fusion Center started up, and there was no terrorism. There was no real terrorism. So they had to say, well, we need meat. We need people. And what I think they do, and on the other side, the remote microwaves, right? And these are working in conjunction, but there's different reasons. They have different reasons in their head. Gang stalkers have different reasons in their head for gang stalking you. And even the people that are above them, they have different reasons for doing it, until it gets to a certain level of like a certain level of authority in there and clearance where they know that this is mixed with microwave torture, right, and experimentation. So there's two things. The Department of Homeland Security and all that, they need meat, right? So this program tries to destroy our brain, makes us isolated, makes people think like maybe we could be a danger, like because our lives become kind of weird and we're tired, like when we talk to people and we're being gang stalked, so we don't trust people and stuff like that, and it feeds into the other one, right? It's evil using these two things to feed into the other. I wanted to say this too. I was wondering, I was like yelling at my attackers in the car, and I was like, why don't y'all pick like, I was really just, I think I was just thinking it. Can't tell sometimes if I'm just thinking something or saying it because of the V2K, which is very scary. But I was like, why don't y'all get the big criminals, like the drug dealers, like the cocaine dealers and the heroin dealers, people who have a bunch of illegal guns and stuff like that. Why aren't y'all like surveilling and targeting them with microwaves? And I had thought about this long before, and the reason is they want somebody who they can make look dangerous, but probably isn't going to be dangerous, right? Probably isn't going to be dangerous. They want to see if they can make them dangerous, of course, but they want to pick somebody who they're pretty sure is not going to be a danger to society, who isn't a danger at the time, right? And then it's like, oh well, it's safer. It's safer to torture them and everything. And then if anything violent happens, there they can be like, oh, well, we didn't know that was going to happen. Like Arachno Nixon is when like before he was targeted, he was not a dangerous person at all. He was a normal guy who lived a normal life, a very peaceful, smart guy. But this program turned him into a killer, right? They're okay with that. They're okay with somebody who wasn't dangerous and a happy accident for this program, 3 lives. More than that, because all of their families completely destroyed, right? Destruction of Arachno Nixon and his family. He's going to be in jail forever. And I need to find an update on that. I hope people have been sending him letters. I haven't sent him anything yet. But he's definitely in my prayers. My dad said something. My dad just doesn't understand all this, but he does believe me. He just doesn't know. And like for some stupid reason, I shouldn't. I told my mom about it, and then I told my dad about it because it was just weighing so heavily on me, right? That somebody who had been on my live streams would I could believe it, I told my dad that, and then later on, like the next day, he was like, "You're such a good kid. You even like the evil people." And I knew he was talking about Arachno Nixon. I was like, "Boomer, thanks, Boomer." And I know some of you guys are boomers, but it's kind of a joke. I saw some boomers outside today. I don't think they were gang stalking me, but they were in their LSU outfits, and it looked like they had retired. They were retired. They were about my dad's age, and they were just like, well, we're done with this world. We're retired and we're good. We had our jobs and everything. And I'm like, thanks, boomer. Sorry if you're a boomer. I know if you're a boomer and a targeted individual, you're more savvy about stuff that's going on, and you're not just like, leaving the next generation out in the wind. But a lot of the boomers, I feel like they're kind of just like, well, we had our time and nothing weird happened. So you're talking about all this weird stuff. We didn't have that during our days, so we're not going to mess with that. We're retiring. You need to get a job, right? And we're being tortured to death by microwaves. The brain stuff is the worst thing, because if they just tortured, and I've said this a bunch, if they just tortured my body and they just hit my head with microwaves, but they weren't doing specific stuff to my brain and things that are good and intensifying those to make them bad, like humbleness and wanting to serve humanity, twisting those things right into like guilt and like some of this stuff's embarrassing to talk about because it's pretty specific to things you have inside of you that aren't really weaknesses. They're good things in a good world. You're conditioned. I was conditioned by my family for certain things that if this world made sense and if there was justice and if it wasn't inverted, boy, they'd work great. It'd be perfect, but instead they're used as weapons against me because the world's so inverted, right? Like trust, trust in people and believing in all the, those things. But in a spy world, everybody has to become cynical, right? It's a terraforming for psychopaths, because the only people who won't be affected by how many people are being hurt and all the lies and how much uncomfortableness and trauma and torture and trauma. The only people that it's not gonna affect are like sociopaths and psychopaths. Anybody with compassion is gonna be hurt by what's happening now in this world, even if they're not a direct target of remote microwaves, right? Okay, guys, I just wanted to show you all that. Very important news. They're going to be talking about the NSA spying on Tucker Carlson. I'd like to just bring it up, right? Because I brought it up earlier in the video. I think they're doing more to him. I think they're surveilling at least through his computers and his smart TV and everything like that in his home, if not complete radar surveillance into his home, plus remote neural monitoring to actually see what he's thinking and seeing. Are they doing that to Tucker Carlson? He is a national security threat. He is the definition of what Tucker Carlson is doing, trying to save America, trying to put logic into people's brains so that they won't kill each other and they'll not and we won't be racist, right? Because we'll see each other as human beings and not this identity politics stuff where everybody, what color am I? What color am I? Right? Like, Morgan Freeman, somebody said, how do you stop racism? He said, stop talking about it. And then people are just people, right? And it's not exactly perfect and stuff like that, but you can't harp on it all the time and not have resentment from like all the different races, right? From every color, white, black, brown, purple, polka dotted, and fuchsia. And I'm trying to think if I want to say anything else. My targeting's super bad. Sorry if this is. No, I'm not. No, sorry. This is a great video. I'm like, hey, no, I'm gonna make a video about this, but I want to just say it. Have you guys ever seen the movie Three Kings? Right, and some of you will know what I'm talking about exactly. In what's his name? Marky Mark. Marky Mark, man. Marky Mark at the end, he gets tortured and they like pour oil into his mouth because like they're going, oh, you want to come over here for oil? But they put these things around his ears, right? They put these like little electric like things hooked to a car battery, like hooked around his ears. Or it was hooked to something else, hooked up to something where they could intensify the level of electricity to his vestibular system in his ears, right? And so they torture him. But then the other two guys, Ice Cube and George Clooney, they come in and they save him, right? And they get it. They kill the torturers, and then they get him out of there. And Marky Mark is walking around going, "Hey everybody, how you doing? Yeah, we gotta get out of here. Oh man, that torture was so bad." And he's just walking around. He's walking around like, "Yeah, man, everything's good, right?" Oh, yeah, because he's just so, like, because his head's been tortured so bad. I feel like that sometimes, where I'm just like, oh, okay, hey guys, how y'all doing? Yeah, whew. I need to show that clip. Do a video. It's like how I feel a lot because they do a lot of like burning around the ears, and they'll do fields around like your neck, or they'll hit you with wide directed energy beams in the neck, and it conducts along your skin to your inner ears, right? Not the only protocol, because they go straight to the brain. They use the cranial nerves, electromagnetic fields around the head, bidirectional stream straight to the brain. And then microwave hearing that can affect the vestibular system. Also, photonics. I want to mention this real quick, guys. I fell asleep the other night without the polarized sunglasses on. And for a long time, I haven't really been paying attention, but I've just been wearing them all the time, and I don't remember my directed dreams. Now, the night that I always wear, every night, it's just a thing. They're attached to me, and if I ever forget to put them on, I know I'm going to put them on. But for some reason, I didn't wear them the other night, and I just had these glasses on. I don't even think I had Dave Case's CD going, but I had tons of directed dreams that I could remember. I remember parts of the directed dreams. They were definitely directed dreams because they were specific negative psychological triggers in those about specific events and specific things in my life, right? So those polarized sunglasses really do work very well. And I haven't tried the red ones much because these seem to work better for me. But I'm thinking they use different stuff, like different kinds of photonics for different programs. So you might want to get a polarized sunglasses and that's a mess. I can't find the red ones. I forgot what they're called. I forgot what the red ones are called. They're red light therapy glasses. Red light therapy glass. I know it's called something else, but you should probably look up that. Try both of them when you sleep, and it does because I think a lot of the directed dreams it's photonics to the eyes, and it's going to your optical cortex. Well, it goes to your optical lobe, occipital lobe. Sorry, your occipital lobe, and then it goes to your visual cortex, right? Um, I think your occipital lobe is used for functioning sight, what you're seeing at any given time, and then it filters things into short-term and long-term memory. Your visual space, your visual cortex, is where those directed dreams would be kind of taking place. But photonics to the eyes with a pathway to the occipital lobe, and then the occipital lobe has a pathway to the visual cortex, right? I do want to mention congratulations to Dr. Horton and Bill Benny on your marriage. That's awesome. Y'all are two big brains, and I just hope y'all have a happy marriage, and I hope the targeting, like y'all can find solutions and stuff, and just have a really good marriage. It was very I didn't expect. I thought Bill Benny, like I don't know. I thought he had like I don't know. I didn't know the situation, but that's awesome. I listened to their video and nothing because she was talking about how pain would jump from one leg to the other on him and things like that. And then Dr. Horton made a superb video at the beginning when she first started making videos. She made a superb video about remote neural monitoring and remote neural manipulation, how they put electromagnetic fields around the head. She didn't include bidirectional stream and then some of the other protocols and things like that. And I thought it was right on the money. It helped me to think about that more. But in this video, she's gone over to like, okay, if you have pain in your body anywhere, it has to be small little chips that were put in there. And I think that there are implants, there are body area networks. If you look at Millicent Black's story, if you look at a lot of other stories, David, I can't remember his name right now. There is that, and there will always be implants and body area networks. But I don't know if Dr. Horton's seeing this or somebody could maybe talk to her about this. The remote neural manipulation can cause pain anywhere in the body. So the signals that they're sending through the vestibular system or just straight through the brain or the cranial nerves, you can feel nerve pain like in your leg, and they can flip it over to the other leg. And I'd really just recommend everybody use Dave Case's CD and the noise canceling hearing aids as much as you can, like during the day. Grounding, because they conduct the directed energy along the skin to kind of go into the vestibular system sometime. So if you're grounding, it's going to create negative ions on the skin. The positive ions are going to ground out, and it's not going to be as intense, right? I say that, and all the defense is hard to spin the plates. They still do help. If I did it better, and I was like working out and but it's hard to get that energy to get rolling the right way, and then you get knocked down by the torture, right? So it's very, very tough, and it's still devastating. Still devastating. I love you guys. I'll go ahead and end it on this. And I'll definitely see y'all in the next one. Very, very important information. Please like, share, and subscribe. And if you want to help me out, I'm going to be doing more stuff. I'm going to be hanging on and trying to just get more information out, kind of connecting it and looking at anything new. Working on my, I pretty much finished my letter to the State Department. I'm just so not hopeful about them reading it or caring about it, but I'm still going to send it off, and I'll read that to you guys. I may write a little bit more, get my thoughts out on paper, and then write and read some of those things about what we're going through, because when you're just talking about it and you're just like, hey guys, what's going on today? I hope we're all doing good. And this is like where we're all like screaming for help, because this is, I mean, we're tough, right? We're getting through this, but no human being should have to go through their life being murdered. It's not something that we were supposed to even do any bit good at, right? So, give yourself way more than a pat on the back. Give yourself a big hug, and give God a big hug, for giving you the strength to get through this. We're survivors, guys. I love y'all. And I'll see you on the next one.